I am not a product. I am a work in progress. This video took a minute to make. No, it didn't take me a long time because I was lazy. Trust me, I would never delay a video because I'm lazy. I would delay a video because I wasn't motivated. But now that I've got you here, my name's Gurky. I'm a developer. Some people call me Noah. Some people call me late to dinner. And those are the people that I particularly have a grudge against. Today I want to go over one of the biggest hurdles that I've had in my journey so far, and that is coding. Why this was particularly hard is news to me because I like to think of myself as a logical thinker, but apparently 1 + 1 = 2 was one of the most insanely difficult things for me to solve. Let's jump into this and explore the wonders of coding and the wonders why I decided to choose this as a career profession, but that's neither here nor there. Let's begin. But before we begin, we need to nail down these two specific terms, which are coding and programming. To define them really quickly, coding is reading and writing the language, and programming is understanding the logical principles surrounding that particular language. Actually, programming is more than just that particular language. It's more of like the spectrum of understanding how logical thinking happens within a computer system or any type of system. You can think of programming like I've personally, as a human being, been programmed by my parents to do a particular thing, or I've been programmed by my surroundings to do a particular thing. So the scope isn't just computer related. Now, a lot of people use programming and coding interchangeably, which I think is fine for the average person. For me, on the other hand, I'm built differently. I'm built wide and short, which makes it particularly difficult to find the perfect pair of pants. But when it comes to developing, I think it's important to know both of these things. Now, I know what I'm about to say is going to be crazy. I'm actually not creating a game today.
What?
Now, I know, this was originally what I set out to do when I originally started making videos for this channel, but hear me out. We are building something very similar to a game. See, no matter what code you use, whether it's for a game, an application, or an API, all of these things follow the same logical steps. Now, those logical steps are going to look different each time you go to program something, but that's why understanding how to program is so important, and understanding the differences between programming and coding. Now, instead of having to create a game, having to create the art assets for the game, dialogue, and all the other complex programming tasks, I'm going to make a calculator. I'm going to have to code all the complex functions, the math, and the graphical user interface. Oh, okay. We will start with something small and just work from the basic arithmetic functions. I think that's a perfectly fine place to start. Now, before we begin coding, we need to understand what the scope of the project is going to be. This is where a design document comes in handy. We went over this concept in a video about organizing your game. I'll link this in the description below, and also I'll link it here in the video. The scope is as follows. The function of the calculator application is to do the defined basic functions of a calculator. The basic functions are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. The calculator needs to be able to have as many inputs as the user wants before finalizing the equation. The program only needs to do the calculations that are set before the equal sign. In other words, just do what's in front of you. We will not be recalling any of the previous sessions or even the last equation that was given. Now, all that being said, I wanted to boil it down into one simple sentence and just do that initially. We will then add in all of these complexities later, but essentially, I wanted to do just 2 numbers. Do math with 2 numbers. That's all it needed to do. But hey, we need to start with something small in order to work our way into something larger.
Actually, you're doing more than just 2 numbers. You're actually doing a multitude of multiple layers.
Yeah, buddy, I don't think this is relevant.
What? What do you mean?
Yeah, sure, you're right. There's more to it than that for sure, but it really doesn't improve the video at all.
Oh yeah, and this little skit will.
Yeah, I'm trying to boost the retention of the video.
Okay. You know what? This is getting a little too meta here. I think it's time to stop.
Yeah, you're right. We should stop. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That was so cheesy. For the sake of simplicity, I will be launching the application in a terminal window. I'll be launching it in a terminal window. Not the prettiest, but it only needs to be a proof of concept. It doesn't need to look pretty, it just needs to work. Unlike me for the last year. In order to get this calculator working correctly, I need 3 things. 1, I need to grab the user's information. 2, I need to convert that information into a readable data set. And 3, do the numbers, Mason.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean?
Now you would think that this would be a simple task. Just write out each of the steps like you did just now. But remember, we have to think like a programmer. We need to think with logic. Where's the logic, Mason? Which is what I didn't do for 4 straight hours. Now, some of you might be wondering, Gurky, why didn't you just use ChatGPT to write your code? And in order to avoid becoming reliant on ChatGPT in the future, I put some constraints on the project, which are as follows. All code needs to be made from concepts I already know and understand. If the code is found from some other source other than my personal database, I must fully understand what am I doing before I implement this. And the final one, no using AI created code. So with these constraints in place, certainly I will naturally become a stronger programmer. Through this process, I will become a stronger programmer, and after writing all of this code, I caved and used ChatGPT. Yeah, so it turns out when you haven't done much of applying your programming or coding knowledge, it's hard to start making stuff. Which is why you should take this lesson to heart. Fail and fail often. This way you don't have to Google stuff all the time to solve your problems. Just kidding, you're going to have to do that regardless. Unfortunately, surprise, surprise, AI did give me an answer, but it did not understand the full scope of my project, so it gave me some half-baked ideas. Which is why my next idea was to have a buddy of mine who did understand coding help me through the process a little bit. During this, he helped explain to me concepts and ideas that I already had knowledge of and how to apply them, as well as a few new tricks to get my application off of the ground.
In your program, you've got a couple things. An enum is this type, basically. It's sort of like a collection of types, or you could look at it like a lookup table, like a table of contents, basically.
Yep.
So when you say enum and then give it a name, say operation types or something like that. And typically these are in all caps too. That's just the naming convention, but that's besides the point. Operation types, and then you say, inside here, I'm going to define operation type. You could say addition.
Written out like this.
Yep, written out like that. You can also do it, if you wanted to, you can define it like addition equals 0, subtraction equals 1, so on and so forth, but you always need that comma there.
Yep.
So what you're doing is making these so you can say, when I select operations, I'm only going to be allowed these values right here. Okay. So when I call this later and I go op types, obviously I have to type out the whole thing, dot, and then the only 2 things that'll show up in your little pop-up menu here are addition or subtraction.
I think it's important to note here that even though this project had constraints on it, we should always ask for help when we need to. We shouldn't be so limiting that all the knowledge has to get stored up in my brain from videos or from books. We can also use people, and people are going to be one of the most valuable resources because they've already applied the knowledge. After finishing these edits, I think I have a fully functioning calculator app. Well, almost fully functioning. I didn't add in the exception handling or input validation, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be fully complete. After all, we're not fully complete. We will never be fully complete. We are all works in progress, and I think that's okay to know. I'm not gonna be the perfect programmer that I thought that I was gonna be, nor do I want to be a perfect programmer. I want to keep learning. Not for my own validation checks. Believe me, I've gotten past that, hopefully. but I want to do this for other people's benefits. So hopefully this benefited you in some way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.